Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rock Squad podcast, your destination for the latest in rock music news, reviews, and discussion. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Nick Chino. I'm joined by my co-host and bandmate, it's Dave Marini. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Nick, how you doing, buddy? Hello, everybody. Before we get started today, make sure you drop down to the bottom of this video, you subscribe to our channel, you like this video, you hit the little bell so you get notifications every time Nick or myself or us together put anything out onto the YouTubes. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow me, Red Coast Records, on Instagram, on Facebook. It's been a wacky world in rock and roll right now, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. You can follow me at The Walking Nick. And in terms of stuff we put on the YouTube channel, did a rock albums ranked for Biffy Clyro last weekend in anticipation of the new album, The Myth of the Happily Ever After, which is out this Friday. So that's up on the channel right now. That was a lot of fun to do. Dave, you and I are both huge Biffy Clyro fans, both very stoked for this new record. What would you say is your favorite Biffy Clyro record? Would it be like Opposites or Only Revolutions or like Celebration of Endings? Like what's your go-to?
The last three records I think are in the books are the same for me. Yeah. I've been so deep in the band. I don't think like some of the earlier stuff actually is a little harder for me to get into. Every once in a while I'll get into like kind of a grunge mood and I'll throw it in, and for whatever reason it fills in that gap for me. But the last three records have been amazing. Since they started working with Good Garth too, like from that phase on, all amazing. Love the band. Can't wait to hear the whole thing. I love everything they're doing. Man, I love it. I love Biffy. Definitely an underrated band throughout the world. The Brits and Europe know what's up. So they're right up there for me with Muse as for like best live band right now.
Yeah, totally. Definitely my favorite rock band on the planet. What I think they are the best rock band on the planet. The thing is that, they do have those earlier records that are a little bit more math rock, a little bit more screamo. And I've gotten into those records over time. But I was saying in my rock albums rank that when those albums came out in the early 2000s, I definitely wasn't into that kind of music. I've come to kind of grow into it, but I guess both of us would be considered more new school Biffy fans, even though we've both been fans of the band for like a good decade now. And we've seen them live multiple times. But we're kind of new school in the way that we like their more mainstream arena rock sound a little bit more than the indie screamo math rock stuff that they did earlier in their career, which I still enjoy, but those records definitely ranked a lot lower on my rock albums ranked list. So I was kind of worried that the old school Biffy fans were gonna come after me and be pissed that I was ranking them so low. But what can I say? Opposites, the double record that they put out in 2013, that was not to spoil it, but that was the number one record on my rock albums ranked. And it's got everything you want from a Biffy record. It still has those huge heavy moments, but then it's really melodic. There's some bluesy kind of stuff on there. There's some poppy stuff on there. And I think as songwriters and as just music fans, you and I can really appreciate when a band stretches things and tries different stuff.
Yeah, Opposites is amazing, man. There's so many bands that fall into a pocket of like, this is what we do. We were talking about that earlier today. Like sometimes you can't get out of being that band, like AC/DC or something. And like I love AC/DC, and there are some other bands that we won't mention. But when you do something so well that's all you can do,
right?
It's a blessing and a curse. You know what I mean? There's like there's an expectation, but there's no branching out. Like it's what they want. You're like kind of pigeonholed. And as an artist, as a creative, being pigeonholed is the worst possible situation to be in. So yeah,
for sure. You can have kind of a signature sound, which is fine, and a lot of bands explore those signature sound in their singles, but you definitely want to pick up a record and be able to explore different sides of a band. So yeah, when you put on an AC/DC record, as great as it is, and as much as we love that kind of rock, or that hard-hitting four on the floor rock with those huge riffs, it is nice to change things up from time to time on a record. It is a delicate balance for any musician and for any band. But Biffy do it really, really well. And really looking forward to the new record. We're going to talk a little bit more about them coming up, about them and one of our other favorite bands, Don Broco putting out new records this Friday, so we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, let's get into our opening act topics on this week's Rock Squad podcast, which are some hot news items in the world of rock music news. Are on fire. The first opening act topic is that Jack White has released a new solo single called Taking Me Back. This is his first solo song since 2018. He played all the instruments on this song, and it's a pretty cool track. I'm not really into Jack White very much myself, but this one has a little bit of a hard-hitting feel to it. It's going to feature the new Call of Duty Vanguard video game. It got some punchy drums. It's got some signature fuzzed out Jack White guitar. What do you think of this track, Dave? And what do you think about Jack White in general? Are you a fan?
Well, first about the track.
Oh, the thumbs down. Ooh, savage.
Listen,
Dave.
I was never a White Stripes fan.
Me neither.
I just couldn't get into the White Stripes. I'm sorry, but I did have a moment in time where I was digging a lot of his solo work, and I didn't mind a lot of the solo singles they were putting out. But this song, to me, I don't know. There's something to me with artists that try to be too self-serving a little bit, like where it's so like you're trying to be so different that you lose what was good about you, like about you as an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're pushing it too far the other way. And obviously there's times it works, like a Radiohead or like a whoever. But for me, I just feel like it's a try hard song a little bit. I love that it's a little bit more aggressive. But I don't know, like production wise, I wasn't sold on any of it. And like I didn't like the drum sound. I didn't like I don't know. It just wasn't for this song. Definitely was not for me.
Just being
Two
picky.
thumbs down.
Stop being picky.
Hey, listen,
Dave.
I don't bitch about bands very often.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive of most bands we have on the thing, and I think he's a great artist. This song, other than being a more straight ahead, like aggressive rock, alternative rock song, I'll give him that I'm glad that's the direction. Yeah. But everything else for the song did not strike a chord.
You see, I'm on the opposite end of this because I'm the same as you. I'm not a huge Jack White fan or a White Stripes fan, but I like the track. I was into it. I thought it had some cool riffs in it and some cool hooks. So that was new for me, even though, I say like I'm not a fan. I think I'm just in general not a fan of Jack White when for some reason, sometimes musicians just don't appeal to you in the way that they write, but there are certain songs that he's written over the years that I really do enjoy in terms of like White Stripes songs like Dead Leaves and The Dirty Ground. I'm a sucker for Seven Nation Army, fell in love with a girl, even though I didn't like it when it was released. It grew on me over time, especially when I was in university because my buddy Ryan would listen to that kind of stuff. And then I would listen to it as a result. But it is what it is. As far as Jack White stuff goes, it's not too bad.
I personally, if you're gonna listen to some Jack White and you want to check out some Jack White, I would suggest like the Rack on Tours.
I love Rack on Tours. Yeah,
I like the Rack on Tours. That's a project that I enjoy. So like it isn't like I have a hate out for him. It's just certain projects he's been involved with. Don't do it for me.
Yeah. Well, and I never really listened to the Dead Weather, which was another project that he had on the go for a little while there. I never really checked out their stuff, but yeah, Rack on Tours is definitely my favorite of the stuff that he's done. In addition to the White Stripes and his solo stuff, like Level's a great song. Many Shades of Black's a good song, although that is that's not a Jack White song. That's one of the other members of Rack on Tours wrote that one. But I do enjoy some Jack White stuff. I don't know what it is about his general presentation and his music. It just doesn't appeal to me in the way that it should. But that's okay. You can't win them all, right? Like you can't like everybody.
And hey, you know what though? This isn't the first conversation I've had with somebody that feels that way about him. So if you're listening to this and you feel
don't hate us, please.
What's your favorite Jack White project? See, we're saying that the Rack on Tours is more our cup of tea. Yeah. What's your project that he's worked on?
What's your Jack White's project of pleasure?
Yeah, leave a message. Send us a message. No, nothing nasty. Let's be good. Let's be nice.
Just let's be nice. Just let us know in the comments what you think of Jack White. We're being nice, and so should you. Let's get to our next opening act topic on this week's Rock Squad podcast, and that is Tom Morello has called Zach De La Rocca the greatest frontman of all time. The Rage Against the Machine guitarist has new album out solo record called The Atlas Underground Fire, but he took some time to praise his frontman from Rage, Zach De La Rocha, saying that he's the punk rock James Brown, and he is the greatest frontman of all time. Tom Morello also praised the late Chris Cornell for his abilities as a singer and songwriter. That's a toss-up, He's had some good projects, some good frontmen that he's worked with over the years. But do we agree that Zach De La Rocha is the best frontman of all time? Personally, I would say that he's definitely up there. I'm a pretty big Rage fan. I wouldn't say they're my favorite band of all time or anything, but I enjoy some Rage. As far as being a frontman goes, he's amazing. But then I suppose his lyrical prowess and his ability, his rhymes, his ability to sing is probably what sets him apart from other people. It's hard to think of another frontman that is as politically charged and as able to incite people's emotions and people's feelings about different issues than Zach. And Rage Against the Machine, they were supposed to play a tour that got postponed because of COVID, but it was really exciting that they were going to get back together and do another tour. And it'd be great if they released some new music. But either way, I wouldn't say Zach De La Rocha is the best frontman of all time, because that is such a complicated discussion. There's so many different frontmen, front women that would be in the discussion for that. But I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
That's a tough, man. You're right. That's a very tough argument. Like, you think about impact in a genre, how far rap rock went, or rap metal went.
Yeah.
You can say that Kurt kicked off grunge, but grunge was over pretty quick. And rap rock and rap metal went deep into the 2000s.
Yeah. Like, is Fred Durst in this conversation?
Yeah, no, he's definitely not. But Zach definitely should be.
Yeah.
And it's not like your first thing would be like, oh no, and like of all time. But then you think, and you're like, there might be better vocalists, there may be better songwriters, but the combination of the poetry mixed with the energy, mixed with the presentation, mixed with the just the vibe of that band and the aggression. Whew, it's tough, man. He's on my top 5 for sure.
No, top 5. You're going top 5. You think?
Oh yeah.
Is that just your favorite, or do you think like he's the best?
My favorite top 5 of all time.
Okay. Where would Chris Cornell be on that list?
5.
5. Crazy.
Yeah.
When I think of best frontman of all time, like, obviously, personally, Liam Gallagher would be on that list for me. I know he wouldn't be on that list for like everybody, a lot of people, but Liam Gallagher would definitely be on my list of favorite frontmen. It's hard to think. I love Dave Grohl, but I don't know if that he would be on everybody's favorite list either.
Yeah, like when we're talking like front of a band, right? Like not like I think like the majority of my 5 would probably be from the 90s.
Yeah.
And then with a Robert Plant thrown in with
Robert Plant. Yeah.
There's a few that in my top 10. I'll give him my top 10, but he's up there, bro. He's up there.
Yeah.
Like, for artists that I appreciate and that I listen to on a regular basis. He's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Right under Kid Rock.
Yeah, Kid Rock's up there for sure. All right. Well, let us know in the comments who your favorite front woman is, and let us know. We'll get the discussion going on this week's Rock Squad podcast. But let's get to our final opening act topic for this week's show, and that is Biffy Clyro and Don Broco, both putting out new albums this Friday. This is kind of me and Dave just indulging in bands that we really like. But there's some new releases this week. Don Broco putting out their new album, Amazing Things, which is their 4th studio record, and Biffy Clyro putting out their 9th studio album called The Myth of the Happily Ever After. I just want to kind of talk about it, Dave, because personally, I'm excited for both. And we were talking about it on the show a little while ago about like which record we would listen to first. And the thing is, I was thinking that I might listen to the Biffy one first, because I've heard less of the Biffy Clyro record than I've heard of the Don Broco record. Like, we've heard 5 tracks so far from Don Broco. We've only heard 2 from Biffy. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough call. I'm going to definitely be listening to both of them very early on Friday morning, so we can get some rock album reviews up on the channel. It's exciting because we love some UK rock. These are two of our favorite UK rock bands. We've seen them live in Toronto and like kind of small venues. They play huge venues over in the UK. We see them in smaller venues over here. Don Broco put out another awesome video the other day for their new song called Endorphins, which is them having a little riff on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is something that Dave and I can both appreciate because we were both of the age group that was watching that when it was originally on TV. So I think I'm excited. I'm very excited for both, but I'll probably toss on Biffy first and give it a solid listen first.
Yeah, man, I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give the Biffy right through. And then I'm already so into the new Don Broco record.
Yeah.
That, I find it, I will be very surprised if it's 4 or 5, okay songs, because the first 5 have been so strong.
Yeah.
Their whole campaign has just been feeding us like our age group, our demographic so well.
Yeah.
They put out a single called Gun Shield, and they all turn into professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
This one for Endorphins, they turn into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's our two worlds coming together in one band. It's pretty hilarious. So I can't wait for both. I definitely know less about what's going on with the Biffy side of things, but I did like the last record too. So, and I don't know, it's a win-win on a Friday for Dave and Nick. That's what's happening.
No, totally. Yeah, it's amazing that these two records are coming out on the same days. We were talking earlier in the week about Don Broco. They had to delay the physical release of the new record. It's coming out digitally on Friday, but then because of production issues and delays with like making records, they had to delay the physical release until sometime in the new year, January, end of January, I think. That's kind of disappointing because, as you were saying, they had this giant release plan that they've been rolling out over the last 6 months since whenever the first single came out, and they obviously are very deliberate about releasing new songs on the way to a new record. They're very conscious about putting out great videos, as you were saying, but there seems to just be a major problem right now with manufacturing of records, and labels and pressing plants can't get them together, and they can't meet bands' release dates, and it just seems like the manufacturing side of the music industry can't keep up with the marketing side of the industry. And I work in that kind of field, and so I see the struggles that bands and artists and labels are going through to get their music out there. We put out music. It's been a while since we put out a physical product, but as musicians ourselves, we like to, in the same way, we take a cue from these bigger bands and these bigger acts of how they market their music, and we look at it the same way. And we love it when bands roll out music in a very deliberate way in advance of a record. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing that they couldn't get the physical stuff together, but still cool that we can hear it digitally on Friday.
Yeah, super heartbreaking. They put out a very somber video message where they're all just staring down their record label, pretty much like, you fucked us over. But it's one of those things right now, for whatever reason, the way music's coming out and what is in demand, like vinyl's in demand and all these things. No one can keep up with stuff. Supply chain's been messed up for COVID too. So, it's people are running into these issues all over the place if they're looking to print stuff. Unfortunately, they also had a misprint on some CDs. So literally release day, there's no physical product to be sold, which is going to affect their chart position, which will probably affect, the back end of their contracts with whoever they're getting put out by right now. So it's a shit show. It's, who's going to take the blame? I know this better than most in your line of work. Like, that shit can go sideways on release day.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know what the solution is. Obviously, having more production facilities and everything would help clear out the backlog. But I also think that the music industry has gotten a little bit too big for its britches in a way, because it's getting bigger in the way that they're marketing vinyl, especially saying that every release now has a super deluxe edition on this colored vinyl and this colored vinyl and this colored vinyl and every different edition. So they can't keep up with their own marketing push. So they release all these different records and they release all these different versions, but then they're unable to get it together on time. And that's the problem. And so there's all these backlogs and delays. And it's not just the music, it's in other forms of media and other products as well. I don't know if it's necessarily just because of COVID. Obviously, COVID has taken a big bite of all industries, but it's just this general problem. And it sucks because as music fans, we want to support the music. We want to be able to buy the music when and wherever we want to. But sometimes it gets very difficult. It gets really difficult to support things. And in the example of Don Broco, their record, that is such a huge part of, like you're saying, getting into the charts and a huge part of putting out an album that it sucks that they weren't able to, or it's not their fault, but it sucks that their people weren't able to get it together. But when it does come out in January, I'll buy the vinyl and the CD. And it's still cool that they were looking out for their fans, because we still get to hear the album on Friday. They could have delayed it. They said in their video and on their post that they could have delayed it until January, but that would have been very disappointing. And I don't think that would have made anybody happy. So it's good that they're going to still be releasing it on Friday.
Yeah, it's, you kind of got to go with the waves on this one. You can't really fight it. It is disappointing that the production can't keep up with what's going on.
Yeah.
And, like it seems to be, you get, the Spotify argument with, okay, we'll sell other music and, don't rely on streams, but when you can't even sell physical copies, like what's going on here? Like what kind of system is this that, so I don't know. Yeah, man, it's really disappointing. I feel like, as an artist who puts out things, I totally know that feeling of like the moment, like the rug getting pulled out from underneath your feet right at the wrong time, so
yeah.
And you're expecting these people, these musicians and artists to keep things going, and things cost money to keep going, and tours get booked on chart positions and things of that nature. So it's tough when you put all that money and all that effort and all that energy, and you're on the hook for a lot of money. And things start falling apart, and it's not because you're not doing your job. You're still making the content, you're still making the videos, you're still pumping it out to fans, writing the songs, recording the songs, playing the shows. Oh, it hurts, man. It's a gut punch.
Yeah, totally. Well, we'll have to support them and stream the album as much as we can, and I'll buy it on iTunes and put it on my iPod and everything, and it'll be just fine. Hopefully they'll be able to get a high chart position. And excited for Biffy, but now who comes out on top? Both the records come out on the same day.
This guy,
Dave, comes out on top, gets some new tunes.
That's it. You too. Nick.
Biffy must want a number one record too, right?
Yeah. Does Biffy have physical copies?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I have one version of the album on order right now. It's supposed to be delivered on Friday, but I'm not sure if it's a CD or LP. So we'll see. One or the other.
Really? You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like maybe a little bit of sabotage.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Maybe a little competition made Biffy nervous.
Yeah, exactly. Claro versus Broco. Battle of the weird band names.
The red button in the factory.
Yeah, exactly. Destroy the release plan. All right, let's get to our headliner topic on this week's Rock Squad podcast, and that is Paul McCartney is going to be inducting the Foo Fighters into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The induction ceremony is happening in just a couple of weeks. Now the Rock Hall has confirmed which artists will be inducting this year's crop of bands and artists into the Rock Hall, and none other than Macca himself will be inducting the Foo Fighters. He's good buddies with Mr. Dave Grohl. They've been good friends for a long time. McCartney played drums on a track on Concrete and Gold. They did a collaboration on Sound City. So what do you think of this, Dave? Is Paul McCartney the right person to induct the Foo Fighters into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, for sure. That's an amazing, what an honor to have Paul McCartney induct you into the
freaking Beatle.
I think like either him or Dave's mom should probably be the one. I don't know, but that's amazing. How could you say no to that? Well, Paul McCartney can say no to that, but like,
Yeah.
if as the Foo Fighters, how could you say no to something like that? What an honor! All the things that he's done with Dave too have been really cool. Like, I remember he did the Sound City thing where he did the like the cigar box
Yeah.
guitar, stuff like that. So yeah, super cool. Who doesn't want to be friends with Paul McCartney?
Yeah, it's cool to be inducted by a Beatle. Like
Yeah,
that's the highest honor. Although it's weird because like you wouldn't think, obviously there's a connection there, but you wouldn't think necessarily that Foo Fighters musically would be the kind of successor of the Beatles, right? Because there's been so many more bands in between there that have paid homage to the Beatles a little bit more than Foo Fighters have musically. But I think it's more because of the relationship that Paul McCartney has with Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. They've done so much together over the years. And yeah, that is the highest musical honor. I'm sure Dave Grohl is just thinking like, how is this happening to him that a Beatle of all people would be inducting him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And I know with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame every year, it's always controversial because there's always that argument. Well, how can you induct the Foo Fighters who've only been a band for 26 years before you induct this band and this band and this artist who have been around for 40 years or 50 years? And that's always the argument every year for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But as a big Foo Fighters fan, I'm down with them getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like I totally think that's cool. And having Paul McCartney there will be cool. And you can probably end up watching the broadcast on HBO or something. So bring it on. It should be cool.
Yeah, well, it comes down to this. Like, if you're a fan of rock and you don't think that the Foo Fighters at one point are going to get in to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over the last 25 years of what they've done, you're living under a rock. Like, that's pretty much what it comes down to. Like, if it wasn't now, it would be 10 years from now. So it's one of those things. Like, yeah, there's always going to be a bunch of people that probably deserve to be in there. And I think they try to do, they try to throw in a few, like, remember, like, don't forget this person kind of entries every couple of years too, so they can get around it. So they're like, no, they're in now. They're in. Stop bugging us about it. But there's like, infamously, like, Rush wasn't in forever, and like a Neil Young. I don't know if Neil Young's in yet. There's like all these Canadian guys that didn't like really, Deep Purple for a long time didn't get in, So there's like I don't know if AC/DC's in. Like, are they?
I don't know.
Like, there's a bunch of bands that are that should be in there that are never in there. But it's awesome. Foo Fighters, like, Dave Grohl talks openly about like learning to play Beatles songs on his floor. Who's not in?
AC/DC was inducted in 2003.
2003. You know what I mean? Like, that's not that long ago. Yeah.
But so let's see. Bands not in the Rock and Roll Hall. There's a website, not in the Hall of Fame.
Let's see who it is.
Let's take a look. Oasis. I was going to say that Oasis isn't in there yet.
Pearl Jam's probably not in there, are they?
No, they're in there. Judas Priest. I'm just kind of picking names. Iron Maiden, New Order, Pixies. Coltrane's not in there, which he totally should be. The Monkees aren't in there. Wu-Tang Clan's not in there. It goes on and on. There's all sorts of bands that aren't in there yet. Well, I feel like they're kind of getting to it now. Motorhead's not in there. Soundgarden is not in there. Bad Company's not in there.
Like, let's be fucking honest. It's no Rock and Roll Hall of Fame without Lemmy.
Yeah.
Like,
no, 100%. There's just certain acts that need to be in there, right? In order, otherwise it's just totally illegitimate, and nobody takes it seriously. The Guess Who's not in there. It's not in there.
The Guess Who? Like, how? Like, are you kidding? Like, come on.
In Excess isn't there? Isn't in there?
That's crazy.
Boston's not in there.
It's more than a feeling, buddy.
Joe Cocker.
Oh,
Motley Crue.
I'm speechless with the Joe Cocker. Give me a break.
It just gets worse and worse, Dave. It just gets worse. I don't know, but that's just a snapshot. Blue Oyster Cult, Pantera, George Michael, Blink-182. None of them. Not in the Hall of Fame, but that's okay. There's only so much room. There's only so many artists. It's still cool. I do believe the Foo Fighters are totally deserving to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because really though, they are the biggest band in the world, right? Like
pretty much.
Would anybody else have a claim to that crown right now? I don't think so.
Know. Muse is pretty huge too.
Muse isn't Foo Fighters big though. Like in terms,
so?
No, they're big. No, Muse is big, but I feel like the Foo Fighters are bigger in terms of like just being an all around, kind of loved everywhere, playing stadiums band.
Foo Fighters. As for working modern rock bands,
yeah,
they're definitely. Here's the thing: working modern rock bands from the '90s, they are the biggest thing.
Yeah, like AC/DC would still probably be up there, and I'm talking rock bands, not
rock bands. From
obviously, there's other genres of music where the artists are very big and much bigger than these other ones. But yeah, in terms of rock, Foo Fighters, AC/DC, is anybody getting any bigger than that nowadays? I don't think so. It's hard to get to that level. Not even U2 is at that level anymore. The Stones, the Stones are the Stones, but it's it's been a long time.
Stale. It's stale.
Stale. The Stones. Well, let's not be rude. They lost Charlie, so we gotta be nice.
You know what happens when a band loses its backbone?
What? Falls apart.
Falls apart, bro.
That's how it goes. All right, we're looking forward to Paul McCartney inducting the Foo Fighters into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame coming up in just a couple of weeks. That is it for the Rock Squad podcast. Before we go, we're going to do our tracks of the week, a couple of songs that we've been listening to in our spare time. Dave, I'll go first. Don Broco, Endorphins. We were talking about it on the show earlier. Looking forward to the new record. Amazing things coming out this Friday. And then a song I was listening to yesterday, kind of more in the indie pop, still kind of rock, indie rock pop, pop rock vibe. It's by a band called Del Water Gap. And it's a song called Perfume. I would think you would like it as well, Dave. It's a cool song. Very poppy, but still kind of a little bit indie. It's pretty cool. What do you got?
I love it. I've been listening the last week or so. I've been like hitting the old mid-90s new metal train a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I re-listened to some like Creed and things that I was never really that into, just to see what the hype was about. And I'm still not really into it, but there was some good tunes that I don't mind. Creed. But it's not going to be a Creed. It's not going to be a Creed song. A Wind Up Records band though, from our neck of the woods, Finger 11. I was listening to their first album, Tip, and the songs Above and Quicksand are my picks for this week. Two of our favorite songs of all time from that genre, I'm sure.
I was listening to Drag You Down the other day. It popped up on my on my iPod in the car, and I was like, that's a heavy song. Like it's still pretty good. Like the guitars and the drums are great on that song. Super heavy. Yeah, we love Finger 11. They were one of our favorite bands growing up. For
sure, man. Yeah, amazing Burlington band. Rainbow Butt Monkeys, then Finger 11.
Yeah, incredible.
Good records. Tip, Grace of the Blue Skies, top notch. I'm not going to say new metal, but new metal era rock from Canada.
Totally. Right on. Well, that's it for the show this week. You can follow me at The Walking Nick. Where can the folks follow you, Dave?
You can follow me at Red Coast Records on Instagram, Red Coast Records on Facebook. Also, myself and Nick play in a band called Fools Union. We currently have a new single called Maniacs. It's available wherever you get your music, wherever you stream. We are there. Apple Music, we are there. Spotify, we are there. Fools Union, yell it out loud. Songs Maniacs.
Yeah. And we just shot a new music video too. We did a little shoot this past weekend for our next single, which is pretty cool. Working on another song.
We're on top of shit. We're been very productive lately.
Yeah, we've been great. So hopefully we're going to look at the footage tomorrow night. We're gonna go take a look, and hopefully nobody's got like peanut butter on their face or something. It's like
I fucking hope not.
It's like, where did that come from? Oh my god, what did I step in? Yeah. All right, cool. That's it for this week's show. Until then, rock on, Dave.
Rock on, Nick.